Hello folks, today I'd like to give my review for Last Epoch. Now I haven't played too much of Last Epoch before the launch, just kind of like dip my toes and see what it was about. Wanted to like wait mostly for the 1.0 launch to kind of get the full effect of what the game's meant to be. And for some context, I played Path of Exile, I've played all the Diablo games, I got about 5,000 hours in Path of Exile, so that's where like most of my gameplay is live, but I played a lot of D2, played a decent amount of D3 as well. Wasn't really fond of D4, so I played that one minimally. So let's just go into it. Now, we are working to resolve gameplay issues due to load. This is now Sunday. The launch was on Wednesday, so they've had, what, 4 days to get the servers under control, and that's still not happened. So I'll just, we'll do this live to see, like, what is the server state right now, multiple days out. So that was pretty good, logged into, like, this part at least. I was able to get to level 67 on my sorcerer despite the server problems. We'll see how it goes here. As this is loading, I'll just kind of talk about my thoughts on the game. First of all, I'd like to say I actually really like the game. I think it's a great game. But the server issues have been kind of a thorn in the side for the game and its launch. And I think it's kind of a shame, because if I were to rate the game, I would say, like, there's kind of like a different rating depending on if you're playing the game in the full offline mode or the online mode. And, you know, here we are, server connecting, right? And on the first day, I tried playing for a number of hours. I probably only got, like, I don't know, 2 hours max of actual gameplay, and probably another 2, maybe 3 hours of, like, trying to load into different zones, waiting around. So, like, the vast majority of my time wasn't spent playing the game, which is, again, it's a shame because the game, I think, is actually very good, like the underlying base game. But when you do have a 1.0 launch like this, you know, there's a certain amount of expectation that you have to meet, and one of those things that the game is going to run and be accessible on launch. Now, I think back to my history of playing these types of games, like, other bad launch, like ARPGs have had, like, you know, they haven't exactly had good track records for having successful launches. I remember back, the worst one I can think of was Diablo 3. Diablo 3's launch was atrocious. I remember I waited up until 12 at night before I even got into a single game. And it was like, I think it was like 6 or 7 in the morning before I was actually able to, like, get past, like, the first act because I couldn't log in. It was just like, it was just constant. The disconnects were constant. So, like, me and my friends, we had, like, you know, stayed up. We were, like, waiting for it. Like, we had landed. We were all together and we were hoping to play, and we just couldn't. So that's like another example. And then I remember, like, years ago when I started playing Path of Exile, I started back, I think it must have been like 10 years ago. It was back when Dominus was like the last boss of the game, and you could go and people would farm docks in Act 3 to get, like, their quote-unquote end-game gear so they could do more Dominus farming. And I would get into a party with people, and, like, for docks runs, and people would be just slingshotting around, and it was, like, virtually unplayable if you had anybody else in your party. So I guess all that is to say, like, my expectations are actually fairly low for, oh, there we go, we finally got in. My expectations are actually fairly low for launches of ARPGs. Even despite that, I think that Last Epoch dropped the ball, even compared to those other launches, because at least in those other launches, I was able to, like, play the game. And in this launch, like, it was just locking me out for the longest time. Yeah. And by the way, I have, like, not a bad rig. I have my game on an SSD. So, like, I don't get loading screens usually in other games. And if I play in the offline mode, I don't get a loading screen that's nearly this long, and I don't have this thing going off all the time. So I think that this must be like a matchmaking, server matchmaking loading screen. Or at least the time on it is related to that in some way. Because it's not on my end. Again, because, like, if I was in offline mode, I wouldn't be having it this long. Yeah, I don't know what else to talk about. I kind of want to just wait for the game to load in here, but I guess I'll start talking about some of the things that I liked about the game before I talk about the things that I don't like about the game. And then I'll kind of give it a rating at the end. So first of all, what do I like about the game? I think number one system in this game that I like the most is the crafting system. I think this game absolutely nailed the crafting system. When we get into game, I'll kind of show you guys a tutorial, but the idea is that you have 4 affixes on your items, and you can use these like glyphs to kind of like swap or upgrade out the affixes as you like. And it's deterministic. I mean, you're able to kind of choose which ones that you want, which is like super positive. And then later on down the road, when you get legendaries, your legendaries can have this thing called legendary potential, which basically allows you to put the stats from your like rare items onto the legendaries. So that means that your rare items are not obsolete. Like in a lot of games, once you get your legendary item or your epic or whatever it is, those items then become obsolete because you don't need them anymore. But in this game, there's still a reason to pick up the rare items. There's still a reason to pick up the exceptional items and upgrade them, because you'll need them anyway later on down the road to upgrade the legendary potential on your legendaries. So I think that system is fantastic. Also, the way that the UI works, where it's like the shards will drop and then they'll go into your inventory, and then you can like click them into your bag with one click of the button, and then your inventory has auto sort. Like all of that feels really good too. So a lot of the like fundamental things dealing with like the game, like the menus and the management of the game, I think are very good. Very, very good. And actually, I think they beat out Path of Exile in a lot of ways. Like, if I think back to Path of Exile and Path of Exile's crafting system, I think it's not very good for beginners. It's not clear where... Oh, here we go. We're in the game. I don't know what that... at the end of the video, I'll have to take a look and see how long it took me to actually get into the game. But yeah, I think with PoE's system, like, it's not good for new players because it's not clear the next step in your crafting. Whereas, like, in this game, it's very linear. It's like, you know, you get your forge, you put your piece of gear in it, and then you can upgrade things along the way, right? And then, like, for example, here, like, I have armor on this, and int. Like, let's say I wanted to upgrade the int. I could put this glyph of hope in here, and it has a chance to kind of forego the loss of forging potential in the item. I guess this is a good time to explain, like, every item here has forging potential, which, like, there's, like, a limit to the amount of crafting you can do on each one, and then once you've depleted it, then you can't go any further. So this one has 20 forging potential left. So I could get lucky and like not use much up, or I could just like brick this item. I'll just do it for science here. I lost all 20 crafting potential on the first go, so that is real unfortunate. It is what it is. Whatever. It's early leveling here. Like, it's not going to be. I'm not going to be wearing it for that long. Okay, so I guess I'll hop into a monolith, and I can just show you the build and show you kind of like a little bit of the gameplay, because I think that's a good indicator of like what the game is actually like. So okay, actually let me explain real quick before I do that. The campaign, you start off in like one time, and then there's like these different timelines, right? There's like the ancient era, which is like the time of the dinosaurs and whatnot. And then you've got like the divine era, and then like you can see the map changes like as time goes on. The landscape kind of becomes more ruined, and you kind of hop back and forth between these different timelines. And then that's like kind of like where the campaign takes place. And then you've got the end of time here, which is kind of like where the end game takes place. And there's these things called the Monolith of Fate. And you go through here, and each of these has its own like little quest line that you do, and you can get upgrades that are like permanent upgrades to your character or to like loot drops. And so for example, I got 25 crit multi here. I've got increased relic drop here. This one I'm in the middle of doing, but once I get to it, then it'll show up here. So I'll just travel there now. I'll start just playing and kind of like talking about these things. But I think the endgame system is really cool. I like the Monolith of Fate a lot. I like how did I click that? Oh, now this is kind of like the performance side of things rearing its ugly head. Like sometimes it's not going to even bring me there, or if it does bring me there, it'll bring me there in like 3 or 4 minutes, and I'll just be waiting around for it to actually do its thing. Very, very frustrating. And I mean, like, you know, this video is kind of just like in real time, right? I'm not going to cut this video because I want it to be kind of shown what the state of playability is right now, multiple days out from launch. Because I think it's important for the customer to understand that, like, that's, if you're buying this game and you expect to be playing it online with your friends, you know, this is the expectation, is that it's not in a playable state right now. And it's a shame because I think the base game is so good. And when I play offline, I have tons of fun, but the online performance right now is so incredibly frustrating. Okay, let me try one more time. I really do want to go here and show this. It's just not going to do it. Let me try going to a different zone, though I can show you something else. I don't know if this is actually better or worse, but okay, there's a system here called, there's a faction system, and you can choose between one of two, the Circle of Fortune, and the other one is something having to do with traders. I'm forgetting the name of it right now. Where did it go? The Merchants Guild. So I chose the Circle of Fortune. I'll just travel there. Okay, here we go. It's loading. I'll just keep talking as it loads. Basically, each of those, they kind of like alters your playstyle, whether you want to be engaging with players more and trading, or if you want to be kind of doing more of a solo self-found thing, you can do that. The one that I chose is the Circle of Fortune, so it's more of a solo self-found thing. So it gives you, like, you know, more chances for affixes to be exalted, or increases drop rates, or like increases your items from prophecies. And then you get these things called prophecies that you can buy with, like, the favor, and they'll, like, once an event has taken place, then it'll give you a reward. So this one, for example, says deaths of a rare enemy in any dungeon, and I get 3 exalted belts. Now, I haven't, this is like the first one I picked up, and I haven't been able to complete it because I haven't been able to enter a dungeon. Like, I've been trying to enter a dungeon. I don't know if I saw the key in my inventory. I was trying to enter this dungeon, where did it go? It was, like, over here somewhere. No? It's in Ruined Era. Not Lightless Arbor, it was another one. Anyway, I was trying to enter this dungeon, and it said use the key, so I used the key. I'll show you here. You get these, like, keys. Oh, it was Soulfire Bastion, that's what I was trying to do. It was Soulfire Bastion, and so I clicked it, and it opens you up to the map, and I walked up here, and I even got the waypoint, and I clicked travel, and it would travel me in, and then I would click on the door, and it would say, you need to use a key, and then it would just keep giving me that thing over and over again, and I wouldn't be able to actually enter the dungeon. It's very frustrating. Like, all I want to do is complete that prophecy, but I can't enter the dungeon and do it. I'm sure my character is decent enough now that I could do this dungeon if I wanted to. It says level 24. I don't know if that's correct or if it scales up or what, but yeah. Okay, so we're still stuck in entering the observatory. I doubt it's going to put us there, and the reason I think that is because it's a zone where other players are, and basically with the playability of this game right now is that if you're trying to enter a zone where other people are, or other people are trying to enter, it's an absolute mess. Once you get into the Monolith and you're there, it's fine because it's like solo, and I had no issues going from like one Monolith to the next. But if I ever need to go back to town for any reason, it's completely arse. It's completely arse. Let's actually, for sake of the review, I guess, let's actually try to do that again. So entering Soulfire Bastion. Let's see if switching that zone, because that's one that a lot of players might not be in, so I might have an easier time entering that one. I'd also like to point out, by the way, that I started this this review like I don't know, maybe like 10 minutes ago. We've been talking so far, and I haven't played the game yet. I've been trying to like show you guys the game, and I can't even show you guys the game because it's so non-functional that that's where the game is at right now. I'd love to show you the game. The game is good, I swear, but yeah, it's completely unplayable in its current state online. Maybe maybe the best thing to do would be to show an offline character, actually, just for the sake of the review, just so I can kind of show everything, because I'd like to show the skill system and how it works, and I guess I could do that here while we're waiting for Soulfire Bastion. Okay, so let's go on to the next topic, which is the skill system. So the skills in the game, it's really interesting. You have your class skills, okay? Then you have a couple of skills that are unlocked by spending points in your like class tree, which for me is like the mage tree. So I've spent a number of points. I've got to the end of this. I've unlocked all of these skills here. And then you have these like specs, like subclasses. So I'm a sorcerer, so I've gotten all the way to the edge of this, so I have these unlocked as well. Although I'm actually not using any of them in my build. I'm just using it so I can get to this Archmage thing and get the crit and crit multi. And then, so I have the sorcerer ones unlocked, I've got the mage ones unlocked, and I've got the like base mage skill tree ones unlocked. Then you can like pull these onto your bar, and you can use them like any of the ones that you want as you feel. And then you can go in and specialize each of them in these like specialization trees. So if I click on my mana strike here, you can see, you know, I've got my mana strike, it costs 0 mana. It doesn't do very much damage, but it allows me to like trigger this mana storm and trigger these spark charges. So that's like the main reason I'm using it. And also so I can generate charges for this other skill here, static, which is basically like you like build a bunch of charges and then you click a button and it discharges all the charges and does a bunch of damage. Now I've got this node here that like discharge deals additional lightning damage per charge but costs more mana. And I've been just stacking the crap out of mana so that I can have one big juicy discharge, right? Pretty simple idea for the build. But each of these skills that's part of this build has their own tree. And if I wanted to, I could play it in completely different ways, right? Like, for example, let's say I was doing a fireball build, but I wanted it to be a different element. You can see here, fireball can also be changed to lightning. It's like grayed out because I haven't gone into this skill tree. But if I wanted to, I could do like a lightning fireball or a frozen volcanic orb. This is basically just like frozen orb in Diablo 2. Or now PoE has that as well. Hashtag add frozen orb memes. Yeah, so the skill system is very good. I like it a lot. It's simple. You don't have to worry about socketing things like in PoE. Like, it's very difficult for new players to get into the game and try the different skills because you need like sockets in your gear to even be able to equip the new skills. And at the beginning of the game, you don't have the currency to add sockets and change colors. So like new players get really screwed by PoE's system. And as much as I love PoE's endgame, I think PoE has the best endgame out of any of the ARPGs. Its early game, especially for new players, is completely unforgiving. Whereas this game is very forgiving. If I want to unspec out of this, I just click respec and I despecialize and I can start over on a different skill. Costs nothing. Other than just like I lose half the points, but I can make them back really quick, right? It's just XP. It's not like a currency. And then with these here, the like passive points, the ones at the beginning are cheap to respec, and the ones at the end are a little bit more expensive to respec. But all of them are so cheap to respec that it actually doesn't really cost that much, and anybody could reasonably respec an entire tree at very little cost. So like, if you make a mistake in your build pathing, it's not the end of the world. You don't have to re-roll a whole new character. So that's something else that I really like. Okay, we're obviously not entering Soulfire Bastion, so let's try loading back into the monolith. I really do want to show. Let me try a different monolith. Let's try this one more time. Actually, I do kind of want to get my progress. It's not even showing up. Okay, let me try this other one here. Actually, wait. Let me load into the first monolith of Fate Zone. No, it's not even doing it at all, hey? Oh, very frustrating. Yeah. Okay. Maybe if I, like, leave game and come back, it'll work. I don't know. I don't know why it's not doing that. This is the first time I've had issue with the monolith. I've had issues other places, like, consistently, but this is the first time I've had, It's just funny. Anyone know how to defeat the endgame boss, LE61? That's the, like, failure to connect the zone. It's crazy that on a Sunday, multiple days after launch, at 11 o'clock in the morning, that the servers aren't functioning. I can understand the server's not functioning on, like, a Friday launch or something like that, but on a Sunday in the middle of the day, multiple days after launch, this is crazy. Like, how long has this review gone on, and I haven't even set foot into a zone to kill anything yet? Okay, let me think. Is there somewhere else I can go that might load. Okay, what haven't I talked about? I talked about the passives. Well, I talked about the skills. Let me talk a little bit more about the passives real quick, actually. So the passives are interesting. So you get your main base skill tree, which is like, for me, it's the mage, and then you have the option to choose one of these 3 specializations. The specialization that you choose, you get that full skill tree, and then the other 2 you get half up into this chain. So you can kind of think of like, okay, where are the passives that I want? If I want to use some of the passives on this tree, but I only need ones that are like in this region here, I don't need to specialize into it. And same thing with like this. But if I wanted something at the end, then I do need to specialize into that thing. Also, there's some passive bonuses you get from specking. So like Sork, for example, gets 50 mana and spells still increase damage equal to their mana cost, which is really good. Because flat damage is really hard to come by. Yeah. So like right now, I got a lot of my damage in this tree, and I'm kind of heading towards getting more like ward on hit. And then I guess with that, let's talk about defenses really quick, because I think the defenses in this game are interesting. So if I bring up my character page, it's kind of similar to PoE in the sense that you have like your resistances, like your fire, lightning, cold, etc. Except you have physical resistance, and armor is actually separate from physical resistance. And what armor does is it gives you damage mitigation for all the damage types, except it's less effective on types that aren't physical. So it gives more defense for physical, and like, oh, lost connection to the game server. This game is really trying to make it so I can't give it a review. There's like the server's spidey senses are tingling, and they're like, we're not going to get a good review from this guy. We should make the servers absolutely busted. Really funny though. I feel like I've had this song stuck in my head all day. They're like, whoa, way, oh. Because I spend more time in the damn character screen than I do playing the game. Oh, click this. It's not. Okay, I actually can't even get into the game. It's fantastic. Be able to connect the game server. Yeah. So okay, I think that this probably ends the review at this point, because I literally can't even get in to give any more. Actually, let me just go into offline. I think it would be more fair for the review if I gave a little bit, like I showed a little bit of what the offline is like, because I know there's players out there who don't care about the online. They just want to play it single player anyway. And for those players, then you know, here's the review on that. So first of all, you can notice the game is very smooth, right? And by the way, I think that the game is beautiful. I think that like the light effects are great, the textures are good, the way the character moves around makes sense. It's all very fluid. You've got these like icons, or not icons, like little graphical pictures, portraits, I should say, of the things that you're talking to. Alright, this build here, by the way, is primaless. I think I'm going to do some sort of wolf leaping build or something. Okay. You can see, like, the skill effects are actually very smooth. Let me show you that. Let me just zoom in on some of these effects here. So that looks really nice. You can see, like, the damage, or not damage, but, like, the effect on the environment it has when you use it. Like, the effects look all... Like, this here, like, gave a howl buff, so I got that little like red around it when the buff was on. When I leap, like it blows up the ground flies. Like there's a lot of things that are like really cool. But then again, you can see like there's a bit of a graphical bug there where like it's falling beneath the visuals of the bridge there. Now that's an unusual case for the environment. Yeah, that's a bit weird. Alright, so let's go in here and actually fight something. Now this build sucks because I'm level 9 and I have like no gear, nothing in my spec really. But it'll give you guys kind of a good idea of like what a new player experience would be like just starting this game up. I mean the skills feel fluid to play with. I like that guy. I think will stun people. This character here has a heal, so I can like target myself and heal with this thing here, the Terra's Blessing. You have potions that like you pick them up. So like if I take some damage here, I can maybe stand in something to take damage. I click my potion, it goes down, and then your belt slot actually has like your max number of potions on it. So, for example, mine has +2 potions. Oh, a sword, is that an upgrade? No. Oh, it was. Alright, so I'm not gonna go through and kill too much more stuff, but like you guys can kind of get the idea here. Each class has its own like set of skills. You know, this one here, I think what I was planning on going for is you can just get way more wolves. Before I get there though, this build's not very good, that's for sure. Okay, I'll stop killing things. So I want to make sure I talked about everything. Okay, so I talked about the skills, I talked about the passives, I talked about forging. Oh, there's an idle system. I can't show it on this character because I don't have them unlocked. But like this thing here on the side, it unlocks as you progress through the campaign, and eventually it's all uncovered. And you can put idols in there, similar to like the stat buffs that you can put in your inventory in D2. Okay. Here's the crafting materials screen, by the way. This is something else I wanted to show before, but I couldn't access it, so I was getting mad lag. You get all these different runes and glyphs, and then the affix shards, and like these are things I can add to my gear. So you can use a rune of shattering on a piece of gear to get shards from it if you like that. So like for example, this has actually minion health stat on it. So like let's say I wanted that minion health stat, I could put a rune of shattering, and I have a chance to get it. And yep, there you go. I got it. I got that shard. And now if I want to put that on something else, I can. Or I could re-roll a stat onto that as something else. Yeah. And then there's blessings here. I think this is like what I was showing from the monolith earlier, I believe. Yes. Okay, that's it for my review. So what do I rate this game? I would say like in the offline mode, I would say this game is like a solid 8 out of 10. I think it plays well. The skills are snappy. The skill system makes sense. The crafting is very good. The voice lines and the campaign are awesome. It's not as deep of an end game as some of the other games that are out there, like PoE, but you know, it's an early game. It's in its infancy. It has time to like remedy that. I think it's kind of a mix between Diablo and PoE in terms of difficulty. It's not as difficult as PoE, but it's a lot more engaging and deep than D4, where I think like D4 kind of falls flat. Is like, you know, it doesn't have an end game either, but its early game isn't very good past the campaign. So this game, once you get past the campaign, the early leveling through the monolith is good. And so I think that that's something that this game has over Diablo. Yeah. I would say, yeah, my final rating for this game is about, yeah, an 8 out of 10 for offline, and maybe like a 5 or a 6 out of 10 for online. I still had a lot of fun playing the online when it was like up and running, but it just doesn't function right now. I'm sure like weeks down the road, like I'll be able to change my thoughts on this once the like servers get themselves sorted out and there's no lag or whatever. But I'm reviewing the game on what I have right now, and what we have right now is 4 days of unplayability, and I don't know when the end is for that. It could be a couple more days, it could be weeks, and because of that, and I just don't know, I just can't recommend the game for people who want to play it online. But if you want to play it solo self-found offline, this game's fantastic, and I highly recommend it. So that's my take on the game, as someone who's played a lot of time in PoE. Thanks for listening if you got this far, and leave a like and subscribe. Thanks.